Loaded
Sport.
Sport.
Does he sit second, then?
No, I don't think he does. I think Kevin Keegan probably sits second.
Oh my God, what a scandal.
Austin Eckler versus the Cards. Go and fuck the lot of you.
God, Eckler.
He's making me like I'm some sort of cameo, like I've come in and go, hand out the bag, England to win.
Hello and welcome to episode 14 of Loaded Sport, where today we are going to be reviewing the Week 15 of the NFL season and the big one, the World Cup final that took place on Sunday afternoon. Joining me to go through it is Skin and Sam. Lads, welcome back.
How we doing?
Very good, thank you. It's great to have you both alongside me to discuss such a prestigious event and what a game it was. Sam?
Skin Dad?
Yeah, I'm all right as well, mate.
I can't say, is it just died or something?
Yeah, I think he needs to introduce us individually, I reckon, give us a chance to say how we are.
Yeah, but that means I've got to describe you both individually, and I'm
and he's got like,
saying
Sam,
as a
you all right,
whole.
mate? Yeah, I'm all right,
You
mate.
think
Skin,
you're
you all right?
special?
I'm all right, mate.
Skinny,
I'm
you all
right
right, yeah?
fucking
You had
tired.
a good time? You enjoy
He's
your
very
weekend?
tired.
I'm right tired tonight, I'll
you?
be honest, but we'll get through it. How was your weekend, Aggie?
It was all right, thank you, mate. Yeah, and today's been even better. Waking up for work to realise that I got annual leave, so I've just sat and chilled and
What a Mongol.
bugger all day. I know.
Yeah, long weekend, aren't you? Friday and Saturday off. Me and Sam unfortunately didn't have a long weekend, but we're ready for Christmas break coming up, aren't we? But yeah, all good. Aggie, last question about your weekend, mate. Your long weekend before we get stuck into the action. But
no, I didn't get
Nakasaka this weekend. Oh, bloody hell!
I knew exactly where you're going with that. We've done this too often. Right, talking about the World Cup final, Argentina against France. Sam, I'm going to come across to you because I think on social media you're the one that was ever present throughout the entirety of that game.
Where on earth am I supposed to start with that game? Honestly, it was
start at the beginning.
Let's go back to square one.
Start with Anthem, mate. You gave it shout out. So
Anthem didn't I? I said last show. That's one thing I couldn't wait for, the Argentinian anthem, and my God, it just set the standard for at least the first half. Anyway, it was just Argentine were pumped up. They just attacked the game. They were so much more aggressive than French in that first half. Got the 2 goals that they rightfully deserved, and I was making notes as the game went on. At one point, I just stopped and put, "Where is Mbappe?" in one of my notes. I just thought he's not made an absolute any kind of footprint in this game whatsoever. If you noticed, Argentina were constantly doing that little ball to the left wing over at top. They were really exposing Koundé at right back, and Di Maria, I think he had an absolute game and a half, to be honest.
Yeah.
Second half, French must have done something on about 60 minutes. Just seemed to have woke up. There was a lot of talk about this this virus or illness that had gone through the camp, and whether the fatigue levels were a bit too high, and they couldn't quite compete on the level that Argentina did. But something changed on 60 minutes. I think, it tells you everything. That I think on 40 minutes, France made a double change, didn't they? And did you see?
They did. After the Argentina's second goal, they made double change up top.
Did you see Giroud's reaction to coming off?
Yeah, it was a bit.
He was not a happy boy. He was not a happy boy. But it definitely worked. I mean, that Dembele, I don't rate him. He's got all the pace in the world, but I just don't think he's got a great end product.
If you remember, I think it was the round of 16 game. It weren't against England, but I'm sure it was before that. I mentioned that he was just shocking. He seemed like Mbappe was doing what he was doing. Giroud was doing what he was doing. Griezmann was doing what he was doing, that sort of front four, but he seemed to be such a weak link. Like you said there, it was just the pace. Like so many times, his pace was making up for such a poor, heavy first touch, and I think I mentioned might have been the semi-finals or the final. I can't remember, but Kingsley Coman was making such an impact when he was coming on that right hand side, and which I'm sure you're going to get into now, but. I don't know why he wasn't starting games, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to not give a full breakdown of the entire game, so I want to leave you
minute by minute.
Leave you something to talk about. But how that Brighton owner, by the way, I bet he's delighted with Mac Allister.
Mac finger space Alistair.
Mac, it drives me mad, that name does. But his value's gone up a bit, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, he'll be licking his lips. I saw a post on Facebook earlier that he's absolutely primed for a £70 million transfer to Chelsea's bench. Yeah, so it sounds about right, doesn't it? But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, on 60 minutes, the France hadn't even had a shot, registered a single shot at goal. Not even on target, just they'd not had a shot in the entire game after an hour.
Yeah.
And then something changed around the 80-minute mark. Obviously, Mbappe just seemed to come alive. What a goal, by the way! That second goal, the outrage, the audacity to take that first time on that volley into far corner. Oh my God, it was. I thought the Argentine second goal were class, that counter-attacking one, but I think that might have topped it, to be honest.
Considering all the circumstances, like the Argentina goal, as you say, the move was fantastic, but the fact that he's hit that first time, not the best height when if you look at the point of hitting the ball, it's not at the best height. He's kind of sliding to the floor to get the right contact with it.
Yeah,
he's got a bit of room around him to take a touch, set himself, and obviously bury it in a corner. But that tells you everything about the level of player he is to do what he did on that stage in that moment with his team 2-1 down. But
so that were just 90 minutes. So games 2-2, we go into extra time, and I tell you what, if there was one game to completely destroy our argument for getting rid of extra time and going straight to penalties, it was that game, because that extra time was the greatest extra time I've ever seen in my life. It was just end to end, and I think I compared it to like two heavyweights just throwing haymakers at each other in boxing terminology.
And I think that was perfect analogy. I think
it's just both teams just going at it. Obviously, Argentina then took the lead through Messi again. But now the French come back. Handball won it, I think. Penalty.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And all I've got to say is on that final, I was quite glad England wasn't actually a part of it, because I think I'd have been pronounced dead on around 82nd minute mark.
After we'd scored 2 in 95 seconds.
Soon as Kane had scored 2 and pulled us back in that's it. I'd been life support machine, and defibs coming out, and that'd been me there. But no, penalties. He's a bugger, isn't he? Odemi Martinez. He's a little bugger in that goal.
You know what, mate? And I'll quickly say this, but the people saying about how it's unsportsmanlike and it's all this, right? How many players, sort of over the last 8 to 10 years, are changing their run-ups and fucking about and pausing and jumping and all this bullshit? I think we mentioned it recently. It might not have been on the pod, just in a separate conversation, but
it's unfair.
Keepers coming off the line, but players can do this. Fuck that. If players can do all this in their fucking power,
it's a very good point.
Put off a player, why can't a keeper do the same thing? Throwing a ball away or fucking giving them a bit of shit? Like, fuck off.
You know what?
It can't work one way.
You've completely turned me a 180 on that, because I had come in and I was going to berate him for it. But you're absolutely right there. I'd not even thought. You've done well there. I've not even thought about the other side of it, where strikers are stopping halfway through the run, waiting for the keeper to just tilt to one side and stroke it. And I hate that and all. I think once you start your run up, you should finish your run up. You shouldn't be able. It was a rule as well, weren't it? At one point,
it was for a bit, yeah.
Yeah, no, I did like that when they did that, brought that in. But no, you're absolutely right. So any kind of mastery of the dark arts, as they call it, I'm all on board.
Shithousery.
Yeah, complete shithousery. He's got it in him and all, anti. All the way through tournament, he's been like
love
that.
It. Absolutely love it, mate.
Little bugger.
But that save as well, just to quickly go back to him and to the game. 3 minutes of added time added on in the second period of extra time. I think there was like 3 minutes 20 seconds on the clock, and it was an amazing. Just in that bubble, it was a phenomenal save. Like outstretching his leg, it was the volley was. He hit it perfectly. That's going right in the bottom corner. But when you take absolutely everything into account, that for me is the greatest save of all time. It has to be when you take the time, the World Cup final, what was on the clock, the fact that they then went on to win on penalties. Like it's got to be the best save ever.
I'd say it's certainly in the conversation. Skin, I don't know if it was before the game started. You mentioned about how a lot of teams have got to be looking at Martinez. I was quite surprised when he was released from Arsenal. They let him go and obviously went to Aston Villa. You mentioned about how you thought that there's a chance that bigger sides could be looking at him. Sam, if I remember rightly, your response to that was, I'm not too sure. Has your opinion of that changed after his performance in the final?
No, because that was after the performance at the final.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, Dawson. I mean, right, it's a good point he makes. He was obviously saying he might be in for a bigger move ahead. And to be fair, he's been backed up a lot of that in the community forum. A lot of people saying the same. And I just said, I mean, World Cup keepers performing well at World Cups don't necessarily lead to big moves. I mean, look at Ochoa for Mexico or anyone like that.
Yeah.
Keepers can have a brilliant tournament and then just fizzle out and be very, just very ordinary, and it can happen. And I think Emi Martinez is in a great spot in Villa anyway. I think they've just got taken over by new manager in what's his name? Emery. That's it, of course it is. And I think Villa will be all right this year. I think he'll be a nice piece for him.
Didn't he fall out of favour at Arsenal with Emery in charge as well, though? So
he did.
It could lead to maybe.
He'd been with them for years, hadn't he? He'd been on loan. A lot of the stories are coming out now. He was it Oxford 10 years ago? Oxford or Oldham? It was Oxford 10 years ago. He'd been on loan at Reading 3 years ago. So, it's only recently. And then it was an injury to Leno that got him in the team. He performed really well in the year that they then went on to the FA Cup, and he was quite integral in that. Got the move to Arsenal, I think, for Aston Villa for 20 million. And then, well, you've seen what he's done in this tournament with the saves he's made, and most importantly, his performances in the penalty shootout. So definitely on the radar. But yeah, like Sam said, I think if Gerrard was still there and they were still underperforming and in the form they were in a few months ago, I'd definitely be saying, yeah, a bigger club's going to come into him. But maybe Villa have got lucky with the fact they made the changes at the time that they did, and he might stick around. But we'll see. There'll be a lot of players now, as there always is after a major tournament. There's always sort of 4 or 5 players that really put themselves on the map on the bigger stage, get a lot of eyes on them for the bigger clubs, and end up making a move. We've spoken about it briefly already in a previous episode, but
Amrabat, Guardiola.
Yeah. Mate, that Amrabat, right? How he plays and how he sort of presents himself and how he carries that team and leads it. Like, I genuinely thought he was like a 33, 34-year-old like veteran.
How old is he?
But he's not. He's like 27.
Oh, is he? Prime then?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. So yeah, another one that could be looking at a really big move. We've got our team of the tournament that Sam's going to go through before the end of our football segment. But yeah, there'll be some players in there that are going to be primed for a big move in January, if not the summer.
Absolutely. Just getting back to the final, because I do have a couple of points I want to raise about it. Why was Messi asked to wear a if I get this terminology right, a beige?
I don't know. When it just to do with like the being a part of the culture of.
What do you make of that? What's your take on
that? I can understand why they did it, and I think if any other player and any other country had won, it wouldn't have been highlighted as much. But I think because of how much the football world has wanted that image and how that image will remain in football history forever, that's why it's getting the spotlight that it's getting. I think if England won and Kane had lifted it wearing it, there might have been a comment about it, but it would have been fine. If France had won it and Lloris had won it, it would have been fine. But I think it's just because of the historical impact of Messi lifting that trophy. I think that's why it's got such a spotlight.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
No, you're probably right there. I've seen a stat somewhere that Messi is the first player ever to score in every stage of a World Cup.
Yeah,
and I think that was this one. Did it all in the same tournament? And then I also seen a second stat about half an hour later saying Argentina are the only team to be awarded a penalty at every stage of a World Cup. So this World Cup Argentina got on group stage, round of 16, quarters, semis, and finally had a penalty at every stage, which obviously he took and he scored. So that would make sense of that stat, the first stat from Messi. What about Salt Bay? What on earth was he doing on what's he doing on that side?
It's like Kevin Hart when Eagles won Super Bowl and he got pissed and tried to get on pitch because it just no place being there. It was very strange.
It's absolutely outrageous. I've seen somewhere little factoid for you that the only people, right, that can hold the World Cup trophy. This is why there's a bit of an uproar today about Salt Bay having pictures stuck with it. There's only former winners and heads of state are eligible to touch the trophy, or unless you've obviously just won it, so you'd be classed as a winner. But that's why, if you notice pre-game, who brought it out onto the pitch?
I didn't catch it because I literally got back from being away like 4 minutes before it kicked off. So by the time I'd got in, got the telly on, I think it was like
I didn't even watch it until last couple of minutes at game, to be fair, until extra time.
Sorry, mate.
It was Casillas. Casillas brought it out.
Oh, my man.
Yeah,
my
your
favourite
man.
keeper of all time.
And I thought it was a bit, bit out there. Why is he bringing it of all people? And then obviously I seen that only former winners can actually handle it, so that's why they've done it. And then all of a sudden, Salt Bay's there at side at pitch,
Sprinkling salt on it.
sprinkling salt all over it. I would say Jules Rimet then, but it's not been that since the 70s, has it? It's just a World Cup trophy now. But yeah,
I still called it that other day, to be fair, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's stuck in my craw a bit, that one, Salt Bay.
So what about Aguero being a part of it then and lifting it? Because he wasn't a part of the team. So what's?
Well, I suppose that's broke protocol as well when you think about it. I mean, I don't
Did he
know.
lift the trophy?
It was.
I'm sure I've seen a picture of him
full
on the
kit
pitch
wanker,
lifting
wasn't
it
he?
Yeah,
but
It'd gone
you see
full
John
GT.
Terry saying if you're going to do it,
do it properly, get shin pads.
get shin pads and boots on. That's quite funny.
Yeah. Now that, but overall, what a final! I mean, I know I've literally covered it blade of grass to blade of grass. So, have you got any thoughts yourself? Either one of you?
I mean, I only watched
go on,
the
Adam.
last. I think it was like 5 minutes of regular time, then went on to extra time, and I just from there I
Where
just
were you?
grasped like. I was out and about. My nan's
Oh my God.
washing machine broke, so I had to go and fit her a new one. So I
Come on,
missed like.
Nan.
Could
the
you
last
not have
bit of
said,
that.
"Man, look, couple of hours, won't it? You not put washing."
No, because then Red Zone was on afterwards, so I'd have missed it all. So I went
Fair
and
enough.
I missed part of the World Cup final. But from there, what I grasped of it was that the game itself was phenomenal, and like Sam's just explained, it pretty much was there or thereabouts one of the greatest games of football that I've ever watched. Just two very strong sides going toe to toe with each other, and I'm a big fan. And I know some people have posted like an obviously edited image of Ronaldo and Messi passing crowns down to Haaland and Mbappe. I really felt and enjoyed this World Cup in the aspect of it being kind of like a passing of the torch. Messi taking the first penalty for Argentina, Mbappe taking the first one for France, leading by
Leaders.
example. Yeah, two very strong characters, I'm sure, inside the respective changing rooms. And then Messi, if he does retire at this point, or if he carries on for another year, it's effectively going to be a case of now he's passing that on to Mbappe, granted of a different nationality, but another player that is going to go out there now and compete to be known as the greatest of all time or challenge all of Messi's titles and accolades, isn't he? So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And I think the right team won in the end. I think Argentina maybe let themselves down by it going to extra time, but as a neutral, I bloody loved it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you
you've
just
got
touched on it there with Mbappe coming along. I mean, 3 penalties in a game, and he's buried every single one.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say is, are you watching Harry Kane?
How can I say Harry Kane? Take note.
That's how you do it, and he's a lot younger than you.
Yeah, 23 years old and he's got 12 goals in World Cup. It's fucking outrageous.
Wow.
And he's did close to have 14, 15, was it? I think so.
Yeah, 15 maybe.
Yeah, so you would assume that by the time the World Cup in 2026 in US, Mexico, and Canada is finished, Mbappe would be the highest goal scorer across all World Cups. But yeah, 23 years old to have played 14 World Cup games, scored 12 goals.
16 goals.
16. So yeah, I mean, why it'll be another good tournament for him to score 5 goals, but why not? But yeah, 23 years old, 12 goals in 14 World Cup games. He's already got a World Cup, and he's the first male player since Jeff Hurst in '66 to score a hat-trick in final. So he did everything that he possibly could to win that game. Unfortunately, fell short. But I've not really got much more to add on that. In terms of the game, the first 80 minutes, let's be honest, was pretty by the numbers. France weren't particularly in it, as you said, Sam. An hour in, they didn't even have a shot, and it looked like Argentina had got the job done, and we're going to lift the trophy for Lionel Messi. But then it just turned into absolute chaos. And I know there's been a lot of talk: is it the greatest World Cup final ever? But again, recency bias is coming into play here. But as a complete overall game spectacle, the occasion and what happened, like genuinely, I think that's the greatest football game of any competition, any stage, anything of my lifetime. So I can't see how I can't see how you can beat that. Like how do you beat that as an overall game in our lifetime? But yeah, phenomenal World Cup final, the biggest sporting occasion in the world, and it delivered. So whatever the final is in 4 years' time, it's going to have a hell of a lot to live up to, because in that coverage to lead up that game, a lot of people will be talking about the game that we witnessed yesterday. So yeah, fair play to both teams.
There we go. And Argentina walk out as World Cup champions. Did you say at some point that you think that Messi's not done? Did I hear that right? There was rumour that he's not done. He's going to try one more as champion.
Yeah, I think that's what's been dashed about today, aren't they? He's come out and said he's not going to retire, which I
Yeah.
personally think is a bit disappointing and a bit of a mistake. I think what a platform to retire on and just
Yeah.
hang your boots up while you're on the highest of highs. He's not going to reach that high again. They're not going to go back to back. I don't care what anyone says. Yeah, I thought it's the absolute no-brainer to retire, but that's obviously his decision.
There you go.
If you
keep-
wrote a movie about a football, like the goal movies back in the
Yeah.
day, like that is the perfect ending. Like you couldn't like the 24 final losing an extra time, and that image of him walking past the trophy, going to pick his runners-up medal, and knowing that was his chance, and everything that we know has happened. Like that is the you couldn't have written it any better than what happened if you were to write that as a movie. So yeah, it seems like it's only going to be downhill from this moment. But look, if he wants to play in that shirt and wear the gold badge on there and all that kind of stuff, then why not? He's earned it.
Speaking of movies, let's not forget that the cameras have been following Messi around for the best part of a year,
Yes,
just covering his life. And how good is that going to be this last month?
they are going to make so much money off the back of them winning the World Cup yesterday. It's going to be so much more popular.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Absolutely. I'm just going to, whilst we wrap up on the World Cup final, discuss the predictions that we had before the tournament began for the World Cup. So
There
I'm
we
going to
go.
give a bit of credit to Mudge for this. He is away on holiday, but he's still sent in for us. He's listened back to the World Cup preview show that we did and put down all the predictions that we'd put forward as well. So, Skin, you'd gone for a France versus Argentina final with France as the winners.
I did. I will also point out I'm going to be that guy, but I believe it was Kerowin right at the start of the toilet tournament. Where the fuck I got toilet from? Right at the start of the tournament, put in the community forum about what your predictions, top scorer, surprise team, all that kind of stuff, and I put for winner Argentina in brackets. I've bottled it in on France because of their injuries, so I don't want to be that guy, but I feel like I've got to put it out there. But yeah, I pre-tournament France to beat Argentina. I was so close.
Fair enough. You had the exact same final actually as Mudge. You went Argentina, France, and he'd got Argentina winners. Kemp and myself had both gone Argentina against Brazil. I'd gone
Sam
Brazil winners. Kemp had gone Argentina winners. Sam, you weren't a part of the show, but you did fill in a one of those like charts
Yeah.
as well, didn't you? So I'll let you go through yours because I'm not quite sure.
I'm just going to cover the final. I had a France-Argentina final, and it was also one of the things where you had to predict each score per game. And I backed 2-0
world
Argentina.
chart.
Yes, yeah, and I backed 2-0 Argentina. And as of 80 minutes, it looked like it was going to be an absolute worldie of a prediction. But yeah, I did predict Argentina to beat France in final, but I just didn't quite get the scoreline right.
Fair enough. Did you go for Did you go for a top goal scorer?
I don't think I did. I really can't remember putting a top goal scorer forward. So yeah,
Okay.
as I say, I went part of the World Cup preview show, so I don't think I put one forward.
That's fair.
Let's be fair. Whoever he picked, if he did pick, would have been better than Liam's prediction of Almoez Ali of Qatar being the top scorer. So no matter what it was, at least it weren't going to be the worst prediction out there.
Fair enough.
Yeah. No, it probably would have been. I'd probably pick Benzema.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
Speaking of Benzema, Kemp went for Benzema and said he's in the form
Nice.
of his life. And then, of course,
Still
he went
think
out
it's
injured.
a better pick than Qatar play.
Skin, you went for Harry Kane. Thought Benzema would
did,
favour
mate.
on outright goals, though. And I'm obviously, this was prior to Benzema missing out on the World Cup through injury.
Yeah.
Mudge went for Mbappe and made a point of him killing smaller teams with goals. And I went for Messi with 8 goals. And he finished on 7 goals and had more assists. So had Mbappe not scored
as well, didn't he?
He did, yeah. So had Mbappe not scored that final penalty, Messi would have won the Golden Boot because he got more assists than Mbappe. So I'll take that as a mini win because that's as close as I'm going to get to getting anything right as we've already established from all this prediction stuff that we do. But I went for Brazil to beat Argentina in the final as well. So there's a couple of different players there. Just a quick question for you both. Do you think that the final, Sam, Skin, I'll come to you first. Do you think the final would have been any different had Benzema been fit and played?
Well, it'd be hard to say no, he wouldn't have made an impact, especially when you consider that double change that France made after 40 minutes after the second Argentina goal. So, yeah, would he have started over Giroud again? Who knows? they could have completely changed the formation throughout the tournament. The starting lineups, it's hard to predict or say what they would have done. So yeah, having a player of Benzema's caliber starting or available to come on is not going to have a negative impact. But Dembele was definitely that weak link at the top, as we've mentioned already. I just don't know how you then fit Benzema into that whilst also keeping, say, Olivier Giroud on as well. But yeah, he wouldn't have had a negative impact, would he?
No, that's
Well,
understandable. Sam?
Yeah, I mean, you say that. However, Benzema went missing for a couple of years, didn't he, in the national side? They went on to win the World Cup without him in 2018.
Yeah.
They brought him back for the Euros, and then they went out to Switzerland. So
They did.
When he's played, I don't think he really suits their system in these knockout games. He'll score all day long against these minnows in the group stage, but Giroud is just the perfect striker for them. It's weird. It's so weird because he's not quick, but he's just an out and out striker.
It's that movement into it. It's that first couple of steps just in his positioning.
He's just a focal point, isn't he? He's big. He can get end crosses, with his head. I think Giroud's a better striker in that system. That sounds outrageous to say over a Ballon d'Or. It really does.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely fine saying that. He's France's top scorer of all time, so it's not that outrageous.
I suppose so, but yeah, I think you'd think the loss of a Ballon d'Or winner would massively hurt any team, but I do think France just don't miss Benzema, and now obviously we just found out today that he's retired as well because he's had a bit of a history with Deschamps, and apparently he would have been fit for the round of 16, like essentially Neymar or a couple of others that happened. I mean Neymar were injured during tournament, I guess, but. And Deschamps sent him home like a couple of days. He picked up the injury a couple of days before the World Cup started. Just sent him home. The doctor said he could, potentially appear after the round 16. He says Deschamps says no, just go home. And then that was apparently the one that he thought, well, fuck you then, for lack of a better word, and just completely severed ties. I think the the France doctors and Deschamps tried reaching out to him while he was at home, and he just completely blanked them. From stories we're hearing today.
Wow,
and then
interesting.
As we see that he has now officially retired, so I don't think they'll miss him. I really don't.
No, that's understandable after what happened in the final. I guess getting all the way to the final without him, but they had quite a few injuries throughout as well. So that France side, I think, in a couple of years in the Euros and then 4 years again in the World Cup, are going to be quite a force. Let's move on.
And this just before you do move on, that is why it's such a bitter pill to swallow for harking back to that England quarter final. People are giving so many different excuses on the ref and whatever. The truth is that was a weak France side. Weak France side. It depleted the two centre mids, Rabiot and Tchouaméni. I mean, Tchouaméni has an outstanding tournament. Don't get me wrong, but the usuals in Pogba and Kante that sit there, they're going to be back soon. They're going to, Varane weren't even fully fit to start the tournament.
Yeah.
That's probably why Benzema actually thinking about it. That's probably why he has gone, because they thought, well, he's taking Varane and he didn't start the first few games. Why can't he start me? But there we go. Now, I think I don't even know what I'm about to say now.
You mentioned a bit of pill to
France
swallow then
about get stronger.
About losing to France. Everyone's going on about Mbappe and how he's performing, and don't get me wrong, he's obviously a world-class player. But where was he against England? He was practically non-existent, and we still and we lost, and we took the game against possibly one of the best players in the world at the moment. So that's why I'm finding it a bit of a bit of pill to swallow.
It's tough, mate, and it always will be. But you look at the Morocco game and how easy it was. Well, how not easy as such, but say comfortable France won that game. You think, come on. And then France went in that game for that first hour, and it's not to say we would have gone in and we'd have been drawing with Argentina or winning at that point, because you never know. And Argentina are a fantastic side who have been in great form, other than that loss against Saudi Arabia. But you do think
I disagree with it. I disagree with you, Nick. I honestly believe Morocco were a better side against France.
Yeah.
There's more of a reason we should have beat him. I honestly believe Morocco should have had a penalty. They hit post a few times. I believe they were better side against France myself.
I just don't think
That's,
they've
it's
got that
tough.
bit about them to take their chances, and I think that's what really let them down, and nearly let them down against Portugal as well, and
Yeah,
against
and
Spain.
that's just that difference in quality, isn't it? Like heart and desire and determination and consistency and discipline will get you so far. But that is why, more often than not, pretty much every single tournament, we spoke about it the other day in the previous show about teams that make the semis and play in the third place playoff. That is why there will 9 times out of 10 be a surprise team in the quarterfinals. It's been Croatia in the past. It was Morocco this time. Your South Koreas, your Turkeys, all those kind of teams that have been there. But that is the difference between when do they make the final? When do they win? They don't. They only ever seem to make the semis and play in that third place playoff because, like you said, Adam, like they are just missing that little bit. They are just missing that bit of quality that will get them over the line and get them into that final to give them a chance of winning. And that is the difference ultimately. So you're right in saying that.
Do you think that's them done then? Do you not think Morocco will be back a bit stronger? And I'm not saying they're going to be like world champions or anything, but do you not think they could maybe give them sort of games to get to that stage again?
It depends, doesn't it? Like the manager did a phenomenal job with only 8 games managing, well, up to the point of us first mentioning it. Does a club come in for him now? Who then comes into that role, and do they get the same out of them that he did? They've got some very, very, very good players. Are any of them world class? Hakimi maybe had class as world class, but other than that, it's a team of very good players and below. And again, they might not benefit in 4 years' time, but could they benefit in, say, 20, 30 years' time when kids nowadays are inspired by what they see and football is there's more investment in football in that country and stuff like that? You don't know. So they might not benefit straight away, but they might do, in generations to come because of their performance.
If I know Mr. Thomas Kemp, and if I know he's listening to this, I know he is absolutely raging at you calling Hakimi world class. I just know it. He's steaming right now.
Well, he thinks Kevin Keegan's second best
It's
England manager, so
it's not best at world, mate. It's not world class in his head.
yeah,
Excellent. Let's
that's it,
move
man.
on to the team of the tournament that we've put
Go on,
together.
Sam.
Here we go.
The Loaded Sport team of the tournament.
This is it.
Prestigious if you're in this.
We've all got our heads together and we put the team together. We're going for it's a 4-3-3 because I felt like we needed a few more attackers in there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you can't go straight 4-4-2 nowadays, can you?
No,
It's a dead formation.
It is. Unless you're Argentina, who of course won the World Cup with it. So there you go.
Yeah, that shut me right up straight away, didn't it? Fucking hell, fuck that right
up. So in goal now, we're back in and to and fro in with this one. We've gone Emi Martinez, the little bugger from Argentina.
that's his nickname. We don't know what it is in Argentinian.
No,
that's what we.
Little bugger. That's his. We'll have to find out what the Spanish equivalent to that is. Yeah, obviously massive in a couple of them shootouts they've had. It was your Croatian boy went. It was the other honourable mention.
Livakovic. He was absolutely phenomenal. I think Emi Martinez was fantastic at points, but I still do think that if you go back, not that you will, but if you went back and watched Brazil against Croatia, that's the second half performance of Livakovic was absolutely phenomenal. He currently plays for Dinamo Zagreb. I think again he's 27 years old, so would not be surprised at all if some sort of bigger European clubs come sniffing around him by the end of next summer, because he was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. So going into defence now, right back is someone that we've just mentioned. You said is world class, and it's Hakimi we're going with.
Oh, team of the tournament. He must be at least all right then.
It's part of the back 5, was it 4 or 5? They changed a couple of times.
They played four for the most part.
Yeah, he was 4 clean sheets in the tournament, which is absolutely fantastic for a side like Morocco. So yeah, I thought we better honour them.
And he deserves credit as well for that ice cold as fuck penalty against Spain to win it.
Oh, Panenka. He's gone Panenka it, and he straight down middle. That was naughty. 2 centre backs. I've gone Varane and your man Guardiola. I know you rate him very highly as a youngster.
20 years old, mate. Absolute beast.
Yeah, he's another one in there. He's looking for some kind of move. You'd think Varane. We've put him in there. I mean, it was a toss up between him and Romero. I did go with Varane just because he'd just come back from injury. I know he didn't play the first game, I think.
Yeah.
And he was just, I thought he was an absolute stalwart at that back. He just looked like he belonged, and he just showed up. Upamecano at the side of him. Because right back, they didn't look too good, did they, France, with Koundé playing normally centre back, playing outright. So I thought Varane had a lot to cover there, and he did it well.
Yeah, definitely.
So moving into the midfield, I have gone.
Don't forget left back.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Of course we are. We've and again, this has been quite debatable because
Yeah, we've gone back and forth on this big time.
there's been about 3 people we've mentioned on this, and to be honest with you, I don't think there's been a great left back at this tournament. I really don't.
Adam was really, really behind Luke Shaw, weren't he? He wasn't sure about putting him in, but
the joke there is that it was in fact Mr. Dawson who was.
Right, like you said, there's been no one that stood out, so I was all for putting him in.
It is, but it was just so average. Like it played okay. Like it went England. It went England's best player, so therefore I think Bellingham was England's best player, and to be honest, spoiler alert, we haven't got him in, so he ain't going to get in. So we've gone Guerrero for Portugal left back. He chipped in with a goal. I thought he were always there on that left hand side, pushing right up. He offered that high press. He got a couple of assists as well. So yes, moving into that midfield role, we've gone 3 here. First one is Anton Griezmann. Now, the absolute nerve of this guy to just think over the last month, you know what? I think I'm just going to decide to be best centre mid in the world. And he absolutely dictated every single game France had. And I think he was probably France's best player. I say that with obviously Mbappe there. Mbappe was the spark, the star quality that got them the goal, that got them over the edge. But he ran every single game, I thought, Griezmann. I thought he was absolutely outstanding.
He was unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Him and then his teammate at the side of him. I've gone for Tchouaméni as well. I have involved him, another young guy, scored a bit of a screamer against England. However, on that goal, just I did see something Ben Foster said on his
great podcast,
podcast,
by the way.
Oh, unbelievable! And he said that 9 Premier League keepers out of 10 would have made that save because he should have overcompensated for the how it swerved. He said just before the ball crossed the line, it wasn't in that far corner. It only went really into the corner as it crossed the line. And he says he should have dived further than the post just to overcompensate the reach, which obviously we all know he's not really got a great reach anyway. And he thinks 9 times out of 10 that should have been saved. He thinks if Pickford's really honest with himself, he goes back and looks at it, he probably will agree with him as well. So
and that's kind of been one of Pickford's biggest downfall is that if a goal's in a corner, he
can't get to it.
Yeah, I don't want to say he's a bad shot stopper because he's not, because he has made fantastic saves. But you look at like Perisic's, the 2 Croatia goals in the World Cup semi-final in 2018, like they were just a bit away from him and he couldn't save them. And quite a few of England's goals that he's conceded for England have been like that. So I can definitely see why Foster's come to that conclusion, because that does seem to be the biggest sort of weakness in Pickford's game.
Yeah, but anyway, I don't want to take it away from Tchouaméni, because it was still a fine finish from a young man who was in there to replace Pogba and Kante, so massive shoes to fill. And I thought him and Griezmann were outstanding. Rabiot coming there did a good job as well, but he did more of the dirty work, and I thought them pair was just tremendous. Probably best centre midfield pairing in the tournament for me. And then the third one I've got to sit in there and do the dirty work for our team. I've gone for the boy Amrabat, who we've mentioned a few times. I don't think he lost possession once.
Linchpin.
Absolute linchpin. You sit him just behind them pair, you're laughing. He were a tackling machine, just never give up possession. And I thought in our little team here, I think he's just going to sit in the anchor where Griezmann and Tchouaméni can just push on slightly. And then going for the 3 forwards, I think this is quite easy to guess where I've gone here. So obviously we've gone the GOAT, number 1. I've played him slightly on the right. I know he's cheating a little bit, but 7 goals, 3 assists. What more can you say to just justify to get him in that team? On the left-hand side, I have gone Mbappe again. I don't really need to say much more. 8 goals, 2 assists. Unbelievable performance in the final. Such a young age. And then up front spearheading, I've gone for the young Alvarez, the Man City forward, with his 4 goals. Now, I do want to give honourable mention here to Giroud, because I did actually have him as a placeholder in there to start with, especially
Shit
the
it,
fact
didn't
that
you?
I did shit it big time, especially with the fact that he had broken France's all-time record. It was just for the fact that Alvarez, it enabled Messi to do so much more. They're showing a couple of his stats during the final, and it was always the highest runner on the Argentine team. And it was his running in behind constantly just freed up so much space for that 10, the 10 space in behind, just below the striker, and which obviously Messi just is going to thrive in that position. So yeah, that's the team. So just to recap, that's Martinez in net, and then I've gone Hakimi, Varane, Guardiola, Guerrero, and the back 4. Then it's Griezmann, Amrabat, and Tchouameni is my midfield 3, and Messi, Alvarez, and Mbappe for the front 3. I think every one of them on there have had an absolutely outstanding tournament, and I'd like to hear your boys' opinion. Any honourable mentions potentially?
For me, the only one other than the ones that you've mentioned already, I'd say Denzel Dumfries at right back was phenomenal. I know Netherlands only got to the quarterfinals, but he was sensational. So yeah, other than what you've mentioned already, I can't really think of anyone other than him that deserves a shout out. But what a prestigious accolade it must be to be a part of the Loaded Sport team of the tournament.
The first ever Loaded Sport team of tournament.
I've just got one question about it.
Go for it, mate.
It's a very, very strong team.
It's not going to be a shit one,
who
is it?
would you have managing it?
Oh yes, it's a good point.
Are we classing this as manager of the tournament to manage this team? Yeah,
I think so. I think it makes sense, doesn't it? Manager of the tournament. I mean,
Sam.
We have mentioned it. Go on. Now I'll pass this one on to you.
Well, if anyone should deliver it, it's his question. So Adam, go on, mate.
You both bottled it. It's fine. It's Walid Regragui.
Now you can see why we both passed it.
The Morocco manager. There you go. I'll let you run through your stats now. I've said the name, but yes, the Morocco manager. I think it speaks for itself, doesn't it? They've done extremely well to get to where they've got to. I think that was their first loss as well with him in charge. Yep. So what he's built with that squad as well. I don't think that's the last we're going to see of that Morocco side. I think he'll probably have another tournament there, and hopefully we'll see them in the knockout stage as well. And hopefully we'll get the draw against them. I reckon that would be not an easy win for us, but a nice stress-free one is what I'm going to say.
Well, he took over 9 games ago.
Yeah,
9 games. I think it was 8 games before
the big 10 now with the third place player.
Oh, is it? Okay, I thought 9 was that game. Yeah, and he's lost 1 game. Well, 2, I suppose. Obviously, if you're looking at your quarters and your semis, isn't it? They made the semis. Jesus Christ, your semis and your third place game. But before then, they conceded 1 goal, I think, in 8 games.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Unbelievable, mate.
What a record! What a record! So yeah, I think he rightfully gets the manager's job for Loaded Sport FC, and that is our team of the tournament.
Nice. Skin.
Boom.
I'll come over to you now for the locks of the week, the wild cards that we've done for this past weekend.
We're going straight into that, are we? Okay, so let's do it now. I will preface this, shout out to Tom Kemp, this by saying that Ag went for Sheffield United, who are currently playing. Last I checked, they were 1-0 up at half time. I've just checked, and they still are 10 minutes into the second half. And Sam picked the Green Bay Packers, who are not playing to that. So we've made the agreement in the group chat that moving forward, we'll only select games that will have been completed by the time we record this show, just to make sure that we've got the right, we can properly review the picks, especially with spoiler alert coming in January. I've put it in the forum already and on our Facebook page. But in January, we will be starting a listener section. We'll call it the listener lock-in or whatever you want to call it. But each week on our preview show, we're going to have a special guest in where they will pick a lock, a scorer, a wild card for the upcoming weekend. And then they will have to predict 3 scores that they will be presented with at time of recording. And then we'll have a leaderboard throughout the rest of the season. And that will run up until the end of May when English football finishes for the summer. So, yeah, looking forward to getting this. Yeah, bring your A game, do your research, take it seriously, and whoever's top of the leaderboard out of a possible 6 by the time we're done, we'll win a nice little prize. So yeah, really looking forward to getting different opinions in and different personalities. But if you do want to get involved in that, and again you are new to the show, search for Loaded Sport on Facebook. If you want to be a part of our private forum, it's Loaded Sport Community Forum. Also on Facebook, as always, search for Loaded Sport on either Spotify or YouTube and follow, subscribe, do the usual stuff. Twitter is at Loaded Sport and Instagram is at loaded_sport, and TikTok also. We've had some really good viral content or some really engaging content and numbers recently on there, and that is at Loaded Sport as well. So join in, get involved, chuck your comments, give us your feedback and your opinions on the show and your opinions on sport, and also review us and recommend us, because as I've said before and as we've said, that is the key to our continued growth, which has been really good so far. But just thought I'd very quickly put that in while we're talking about listeners. So the locks of the week for football.
Just to stop you there, I've just seen Sheffield United have just gone 2-0 up, so I think Ag's on his way there.
Yeah, early payout on Bet365 and Sky Bet that, so we'll give you a tick for that, shall we?
Thank you.
And just really, really hope that Wigan don't come back, but we'll acknowledge it Thursday if we need to. So I went for Leyton Orient. They were top of League One. I had them in my last man standing that I run as well. They were 2-0 winners, so that's a tick for me. Sheffield United, as we've just mentioned, they're currently 2-0 up, so we would like to assume that they will be comfortable. Sam, you went for Sheffield Wednesday, the other side of Sheffield, and they, I believe, drew 0-0. So that unfortunately is a cross for you on the locks, and you've got to be fuming considering that you're putting money on this. And it was quite a good bet as well. And Mudge had Argentina to lift the trophy, doubling down on his pre-tournament prediction, and he also got that right as well. The scorers, I went for Danny Johnson of Walsall. Unfortunately, that one was void because the game was called off. Aggie went for Danny Sargent of Norwich and the USNA. He didn't score. Sam, you went for James Collins. He didn't score. If you'd have gone for McGoldrick, you would have bagged because he got Hattie in that 4-0 win.
Top boy.
Yeah, absolutely. What a performance from them. Climbing and on the way back.
We're on our way, Buzz. We're on our way.
That's the one. And Mudge went for the GOAT himself, Lionel Messi, and that came in nice and early with that penalty. So Mudge was the only one to get a scorer right this week across both sports. But sorry for the spoiler on what's coming in the NFL.
I should have.
On to wildcards. Again, I had a void with Shrewsbury being postponed due to the weather. So I finished with a perfect 1 out of 1 this week on the football. Ag, you went for Forest Green against the aforementioned Derby County, and they got absolutely battered 4-0. So that is a cross for you, mate. Sam, you went for Wickham to be second in the table, Ipswich, and they did.
Top.
No, Plymouth are top in
top.
League One, I believe.
Yeah, they are now.
I thought they were before as well.
No, Ipswich were first. First
Fair
versus
enough.
ninth.
There we go then. Well, you got a nice big fat green tick for that one, mate, because Wickham did win, and then Mudge had Morocco to win the third place playoff, which we know they didn't. So that is a cross there. So out of a possible 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 football predictions, we're obviously not including the voice for myself. So that's actually six picks. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 picks. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 10. So not the best week there, lads. But Sam must do better. And depending on the result in the Packers game tonight, mate, you're going to be absolutely kicking yourself because, as we mentioned last week, you do like to stick a tenner on the 8 selections over the locks. And so far, we are 6 out of 7.
No, we're not, mate.
Why aren't we?
Because Vikings lost.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. They won in overtime.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
And
they did.
we'll get into that, mate. The little spoiler coming up for the NFL section. The Vikings now have overcome the biggest ever deficit to win an NFL game. They somehow won after being 33-0 down to win 39-36 in overtime. So, yes, Sam, as it stands, 7 of the locks have played, 6 have won, and the only one that hasn't won is your Sheffield Wednesday pick with the Packers still to play tonight. So.
All I'm going to say is what a twat I am. You know the reason why I said they lost? Is because I'm on Bet365 right now because I have got a treble on that involves Sheffield United. And just an FYI, they haven't actually given me an early payout, which I'm a bit fuming with. I've also got Sporting Lisbon, who are 5-0 up, who also don't have a tick either. So I'm not too happy about that. However, the point I'm making is Vikings have got a big cross at the side of it. And I'm thinking, what the hell are you on about? Vikings and Chef Wednesday both let me down. And then I see that I accidentally backed first half money line with the Vikings.
Oh well, yeah, they were 33-0 down, mate. So definitely worth coming in.
What a dickhead.
It's a good effort. So yeah, the locks this week really good. If you do decide to start backing and moving forward, like Sam is, remember to please gamble responsibly and only gamble what you can afford to lose. I would like to put that out there. But yeah, so some really good picks there.
I think
so far this week.
I think I'm proving that. While I'm absolutely unbelievable at picking an underdog to win, I am absolutely shambolic at securing a lock. Something that you should be, as I always say, should be something that you're willing to bet your mortgage on. A lock coming in. I think I've not hit on my last three now. I think with my locks.
That's rough, mate. And from 2023, when we start after Christmas, I'm going to keep a tracker for the whole of the year, and then we'll assess the scores come the end of the year. But yeah, you've got 2 weeks left to iron that shit out, mate, because you don't want that hanging over your head throughout 2023. But as you said there, you're good at picking the underdog, and we'll get more into that once we cover the NFL picks shortly, because you've landed on an absolute diamond this week.
I have.
There we go. In just a few moments' time, we'll be back to review Week 15 of the NFL season. Welcome back to episode 14
Yes,
of
mate,
Loaded
I just
Sport.
said we're ready.
Loaded Sport.
Come get
We
your
ready?
16
Are we ready? Yeah.
daily.
We're good to
Yes,
go.
I said I'm
Right,
ready.
good.
There
Let
must
me
be a
carry
lag.
on. Episode 14 of Loaded Sport. We're now going to review
Stop
the weekend's
saying
action.
spät.
What?
Stop saying spät.
What?
Stop
Sport.
saying spät.
Sport. Loaded Sport. Is that better for you?
To Loaded
Yeah, that's better.
Sport.
Fuck off.
Right, come on, I'll take control. Right,
I'm working with
let's crack on
fucking
NFL.
amateurs.
Ag, crack on with NFL. Come on.
I know how Aaron Rodgers feels now.
Oh fucking god! Carry on. Right, come on. Let's go straight into what's talking point.
Straight in. We've spent a minute listening to your laugh. Right, week
Don't matter,
15
let's
of
go.
fuck off. Not I'm lost now. Blow me completely off it.
Week 15 of Loaded Sport.
Ag, are you okay, hon?
Oh mate, I'm too
Week
old for
15
this.
of the NFL. What do you want
Right.
to talk about, Aggie?
Let's roll.
I don't know. Let's start looking at some of
Loaded
the
Sport,
results.
Let's ride.
The Chiefs against the Texans. Everybody expected this to be a clear win for the Chiefs. It wasn't quite, as the Chiefs walked away 30-24 winners in overtime. First of all, Skin, your thoughts on that?
Mate, fair fucks to the Texans. I mean, if you look at their recent form, they're losing games, but not by a lot. So, I mean, they've won one game all season.
They're
Lost
like last
12
year's
times, well.
Lions, aren't they? They're in every game. They just can't get a win.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it's tough because you get to this part of the season and you are thinking that the draft mindset comes in and you don't want to sacrifice what they've got, which is currently the number one overall pick. So it is tough, but they are. If you look at that squad, it is a dead team, and I'm not saying this just because they have got the worst record, but that is the worst squad on paper in the National Football League. They have got a lot of work to do and a lot of pieces to fill before they start even thinking about becoming competitive in the AFC and in the playoffs. So, but yeah, it's a bit of heart. They've got Lovie Smith, who they've got Bears to the last Super Bowl, not too far off 20 years ago now. He's clearly coaching that mindset, and but yeah, what can you say? Fair play to them. They didn't win, but to take Chiefs, who are one of the best teams in the NFL right now, to overtime and lose right at the death, fair play to them. But yeah, like you said, Adam, absolutely would have expected a 3+ score win by the Chiefs based on recent form and teams and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, nothing but fair play to the Texans. But Chiefs roll on now, 11-3, lead the AFC, and quite honestly, I can't see that changing between now and the time that the regular season ends.
Agreed.
They are one of just 3 games that went to overtime on Sunday. Another one, Sam, I'll come to you first for just quickly to mention the Cowboys 34, the Jags 40. If there's ever a chance for the Jags to start to turn things around and get themselves into the playoffs, they're now realistically within a shout of grabbing a place, aren't they?
Well, I mean, if I don't say I seen it coming, I'd have been lying. It was.
We'll get into that, won't we? We're meant to be saving that argument, but well done.
I'm going to say I can't really not go into it.
Are you joking?
No, it's fine, mate. Carry on.
No, it's fine. I am going to say it. I'm going to say that this obviously, if you was listed last week, you'd have known this would have been my lock of the week. Sorry, wild card. Adam, you've got us all fried, mate. Your intro.
Come on, lads.
Your intro's playing on my mind. Now,
come on, pull yourselves together, lads.
We've got it. I backed the Jags as my wild card. I said Trevor Lawrence is coming on leaps and bounds. You asked me for a reason. That was pretty much the only reason I gave. So I've seen enough of Trevor Lawrence that he can cause an upset. He finished a stat line of 318 passing yards, 4 touchdowns and an interception with 27 completions out of 42. Unreal stat line, that, to be fair to him.
Yeah. Against that Cowboys defense, for the most part, I think there's out of the 13 games prior, I don't think they had more than 3 games where they conceded more than 1 offensive touchdown in a game.
Oh, wow.
Great best defense in the league, phenomenal. He's put up 40 points against them, thrown over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. So, yeah, everything that you said in the preview show last week, he's backed up. And I know I had Trevor Lawrence as my player of the week last week, and we spoke about how he was coming into his own, starting to look like the kind of player that the Jags wanted when they drafted him. And he seems to just gone on at another level or even 2 since then. So excited to see what he might produce next season with a couple more draft picks and a bit of work in free agency.
So just on year 2 quarterback development, I'm going to go to your boy Mac Jones here, because obviously there's been so much he's had to deal with this year with the inability of the offensive coordinator. This is what a year 2 jump should look like in Trevor Lawrence. Is completely night and day from his rookie year. What's your thoughts on Mac Jones and how he's been?
Well, I think this will be the 3rd time now that we've had some kind of discussion, and I suppose it's a good opportunity to get into the game. I can't blame him. You mentioned Trevor Lawrence's stat line there. Mac Jones, by no stretch of the imagination, had any kind of good stat line last night against Raiders. But again, I'm just repeating myself, but he's got a failed defensive-minded coach as his offensive coordinator. In last week's win against the Cardinals, he was seen shouting at him in the sideline. Not for the first time. He was seen waving him off while Matt Patricia was trying to call plays. Like, what's going on? So something needs to change, and I am genuinely worried about what next season looks like if they go in again with the current setup. Because we spoke about this last week. Year 2 is so huge in a player's development. You look at Justin Fields, you look at Trevor Lawrence, 2 players that had really rough starts to their NFL career last season and are thriving this season. So I'm worried, mate. I am worried, but 95% of that I wouldn't put down to reasons that are specifically about Mac Jones as a player, to be honest.
That's fair enough, and there's no pulling wool over your eyes. That was exactly the reason why I mentioned it, just so we can ease onto that Patriots-Raiders game.
Yeah.
Because holy shit, I was still up when that game finished, and that was one of the wildest endings I've ever seen to a game in my 10 years of watching NFL.
Yeah.
So the Patriots have got the ball. I think there's about 3 seconds left on the clock, and they just call a running play, just run the ball, hand the ball off, run the clock down, and take in overtime.
Yeah.
Raiders have gone into a prevent defense, which means that you're going to get a good couple of yards if you run the ball against it. He picked up about 15 yards, and he was really trucking. He starts coming to a couple of tacklers. In next minute, he laterals it, which is his mistake to start with, because he should have been tackled and gone down from that point.
That seems to have been the play call, and we'll get onto this very briefly after. But just to put it out there, based on the answer from Belichick in the interview after, it seemed like that was the play call to run that.
If that's the play call, then this is on Belichick, because I was going to put it all on. Was it Jacoby Myers, wasn't it? So the ball comes
threw it back.
Yeah. So were it Ramondre Stevens? Yeah. So he threw it to Jacoby Myers, and then obviously in Jacoby Myers' head, there's only one way of looking at this. He's gone into the thing thinking, "Oh shit, I've got the ball. We need to score." That's what he's thought. Is on that sort of drill where it's the only time you ever do a lateral is if you're desperate and you need points. He's got the ball in his hands. He's thinking, right, I need to make a play now. He's made one. I need to make one. He's turned around and threw it back to quarterback. And Chandler Jones, of all the people that could have done it as well, the expatriate,
Yeah.
just the biggest stiff arm into Mac Jones's helmet, and then away he goes and takes it to the house. It was just absolutely balmy. And I'm sitting here thinking, as Charlie Nicholas would say, I'm thinking, oh right, Patriots must need to score then. And I looked at score and they were tying, and I was like, what on earth are they doing? Just take overtime and go again. But now they decided to take the game out of Mac Jones's hands and just gift it to the Raiders. It was quite something to behold.
Yeah.
You want to say nothing more on
Got to
that?
say.
I was literally just thinking as you came to the end there, like, I'm glad you've covered that because I'm verging on genuinely speechless. Like you said, they were tying. You run that clock. Part of me thinks, what's the point in running that clock? Because it's a 1% chance that he's going to get that 55 yards and score a touchdown. Yeah, there's not going to be enough time to make a run, stop the clock, take a field goal in a position where he was at that time. It was a relatively decent attempt at a field goal. So I don't really know why they called that play. In the media interview after, Belichick said that Mac couldn't make that throw, and that's why they didn't go for a Hail Mary. It was a 55-yard throw. So, if that's not burying your quarterback, I don't know what is. Yeah. To be honest,
does that not make you worry a little bit that he's given that comment on the back of the discussion about Mac Jones and the offensive coordinator, that he's backing his coordinator over backing your quarterback?
Yeah, 100%. Look, Mac Jones is a national championship winner at college level with Alabama, and yes, he had phenomenal talent around him, but he made big throws, and he had the players that had the ability to make big plays, take the top off of defenses with their speed and all that kind of stuff. But we've spoken about it before with like Tua and Tyreek, and how Tyreek has to sometimes come back because he's so quick, and Tua can't make that deep throw. But Mac made those throws. You only need to go on YouTube, put Mac Jones college highlights in to see that he is capable of throwing that ball deep. So I'm pausing it. It doesn't make for great listening, so I apologise. But how do you explain that? How do you justify that? You can't. And Mac Jones after said, "Look, it's on me. I should have made that block."
No, that's bollocks.
He's trying to, he's trying to be a leader. He's trying to take one for the team. But yet again, as I've said multiple times throughout this season, it's absolutely not on him. What can he do in that situation? Ball flies towards him. He's got a player in Chandler Jones flying towards him. There's only one person winning that fight every single time, and it ain't Mac Jones. So, yeah, yeah, I'm sorry. I genuinely don't really know what to say. It was completely baffling. There was absolutely no reason to do it, and
but even Belichick saying Mac can't make the throw. If he genuinely believes that, then he shouldn't have been. That play shouldn't have happened. It should have just been taking a knee, and you go into overtime, and you've reset. You go again. Yeah. So I thought it was just Jacoby Myers going rogue, and he's just lost his head. And I don't know. Well, he has to an extent, but if that's the true play call, so he's designed run that, and then for the running back to do a lateral, then that's entirely on him. That is on nobody else except for Belichick.
Because, like you say, they're tying, so there's no reason whatsoever.
Nothing.
If they're down, if they're down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points or whatever, and they need a touchdown, then 100%. I still would disagree with Mac not being able to make that throw, but I'd understand the play call. But there's no reason to call that play in that moment in that scenario. So that's why I'm just like, I can't explain it. They're the experts. They're the ones that are paid to do the job. They're the ones accountable. I can't see any explanation, or I can't think of any explanation that would justify it. And for me to go, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move us on.
Yeah, let's move on to the player of the week. Skin, I'll start with you to try and cheer you up a little bit. Let's go to you for the player of the week first.
All right, mate. Well, we've already spoken about this game, but Zay Jones of the Jacksonville Jaguars has been absolutely fantastic for them recently. If you go back over this last month to 6 weeks and look at his stat lines, he has been integral to the rise of Trevor Lawrence. He's been absolutely brilliant as that number 2 alongside Christian Kirk, or maybe even a 1B to Christian Kirk's 1A. And yeah, has been absolutely fantastic. Against the Cowboys, only 6 receptions, but 109 yards and 3 touchdowns. So contributed 18 points of that 40 that Jags put on the board. So yeah, I'll give Zay Jones, especially with the career that he's had. He came in with quite a lot of hype. He was very quiet. I think it was the Bills that he played for quite a long time and was really quiet. But this last 6 weeks or so, I don't know why, but he's looked absolutely fantastic and probably I'd argue a top 20 wide receiver in the league with how he's been over the last 4 to 6 weeks. So yeah, I'll give Zay Jones my player of the week. Like I say, 6 receptions, 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards. Fantastic week and a fantastic performance for him.
Nice. Sam?
So I'm going to give it to a defensive player because we always go offence. I know Dawson went defensive the first time we did this, and I think
Week 1, that was it.
that was the only time we've done it. So I'm going to start trying to give a bit more love to the defense, and I'm going for one boy in particular, the rookie who played on Sunday Night Football, New York Giants defensive end Kayvon Thibodeau. So he recorded in one play, he recorded 1 sack, 1 fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 touchdown, all in the space of one play. He got the hat trick, as they call it. He also had 9 tackles to go with that, which I believe led the team. You're just looking now. Yes, it did lead the team. 9 tackles, 1 sack, and as I say, a strip sack return for a touchdown. So I'm going to give Kayvon Thibodeau my love and give him his flowers this week because he, is finally starting to show why he was the number 5 pick overall.
I think it was 4th or 5th, weren't it? It might have been 5th, yeah.
I think he was
5th,
5th,
I believe.
Yeah, and just on the back of that, has anyone seen any highlights from the Giants Commanders game?
Nope.
I haven't, mate. No, I've only seen the McLaurin.
I saw the final play.
Weird end to the game. So that's exactly what I was referring to. So I don't know if any listeners have seen this, but essentially Washington are driving down the field with like a minute left. This is to tie the game. Obviously, they're going to need a 2-pointer with it finishing 20-12. That was a score, not the time at night. And out on the outside, as the quarterback's due to snap it, as Heineke's due to snap it, Terry McLaurin is out on the far side of the field, and he seems to have a little discussion with the line judge who stood next to him.
Yeah.
And essentially, what we've now learned is that the line judge is telling him he needs to take a couple of steps back because he's not in line with the play. So he's checked himself, has then gone back to the line judge and said, "Am I okay?" And the line judge said yes. The receivers then Terry's then turned inwards to look at his quarterback to his left, so obviously the line judge is to his right. As the ball snapped, the line judge has gone into his pocket and he's pulled the flag anyway. So there has been a lot of controversy about that call. To say it's the equivalent of, as they said on Good Morning Football, a 5th grader going to his teacher, "Oh, this is my homework. Before I hand it in, have I done right?" They've said yeah, and then they've handed it in, and then given him an F for it. Yeah, it's like he's checked with the line judge to make sure, is this okay? He's given him the all clear, and then he's flagged him afterwards, which just seems crazy to me. So they got called for a flag on that illegal formation. They come back 5 yards. They go again, and then this time they throw it to the opposite side of the field. And I don't know if you've seen this play or not, but I don't know how that hasn't been called for.
This is the one that I was referring to.
Yeah, defensive pass interference. The defensive back is draped all over the wide receiver. The wide receiver's facing the quarterback, and he's just coming through the back of him. Oh, and how it wasn't a flag is beyond me. And it's essentially a turnover on downs. Giants win it, but Washington, a couple of weird refereeing decisions there that I do think, I wouldn't say cost them the game because the Giants were actually the better team throughout, but they definitely had a chance towards the end to at least tie it, and the referees didn't give them a chance to do that.
I think that gives the Giants the advantage heading into the playoffs as well.
Definitely.
With the win over Washington. I think they've beat them on 2 occasions now. My player of the week is Jerick McKinnon. From the Kansas City Chiefs. Although we seemed surprised that the Chiefs did beat the Texans in overtime, Jerick McKinnon was absolutely phenomenal. In these last 2 weeks, he's racked up ridiculous statistics. This weekend alone, he got 10 rushes for 52 yards and a rushing touchdown. 8 out of 8 receptions for 70 yards and a receiving touchdown, and he got a 2-point conversion as well. The rushing touchdown was the game-winning touchdown in overtime as well to give the Chiefs the win. So getting involved in all aspects. And I know the way that the Chiefs tend to use it at the moment is McKinnon tends to do more of the receiving running back stuff. Pacheco tends to do more of the running back stuff. And I think despite all the praise that Edwards-Helaire was getting last year, I think it's going to be extremely difficult for him to be able to get into any sort of plays for the Chiefs next year with how McKinnon and Pacheco are both doing. I don't know what you guys think.
It's a fair comment, I suppose, but I think Edwards-Helaire, they've got an embarrassment of riches at running back, haven't they? There, to be honest,
They've gone really, really cold on Clyde, especially in the second half of this season. I don't really know why, but
yeah, he's on IR at the moment. But I mean, when he comes back, it'll probably be a
before
bit
that though. They completely dropped him, so I don't know if they might be looking at using him as trade bait in the off season or yeah, I don't know. That something they're not seeing something from him, but yeah, weird.
There we go. I've managed to pick him up in two fantasy leagues anyway, so I'm happy with that. Skin will move across to the locks and the wildcard results.
Yeah, so I'm glad you said locks and wild cards because the scorers don't need talking about, in all honesty. But
still locks,
I went for the Eagles, who won in a much closer game against the Bears, 25-20. 25-20. So I got both locks right this week. Ag went for the Vikings. As we discussed, they had a phenomenal game, overcame the biggest deficit in NFL history to beat the Colts on Saturday night after overtime. So they got Ag the tick, and Sheffield United have now finished. So Ag, you got both your locks right. Sam went for the Packers, which, as we discussed, play tonight, so that is to be confirmed. And Mudge went for the Chiefs, who, again, as we discussed, won in overtime. So Mudge also got both of his locks right this week. The scorers was an absolute shit show. Keenan Allen, Pacheco, AJ Brown, and Devonta Smith. None of them scored, so less said about that, the better, and we will do better on Friday's show for this upcoming weekend. And the wildcards, I picked the Lions, as did Mudge and Sam. They were not the favourites against the Jets, so that classes as a wildcard. Ag, well, this is where I was thinking on Sunday night. Ag picked the Falcons, who had won one more game this season than the team they were playing, the Saints. So I was like, is that a wildcard? But Saints won, so it doesn't really matter. And then the pick of the week is Sam's Jags. And for the first time in Loaded Sport history, we have someone that has completed the wild card double, and that is you, Sam, mate, with Wickham and Jags combination. So we'll end it on that, and a massive well done. So that's, I know you back the locks, and it'd be a bit irresponsible to back the wild cards, but I'm sure Wickham and Jags win combination would have been a very nice double. But yeah, fair play to you, mate.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed.
There we go. Skin, I normally skip over this bit, so I'll let you go ahead with your question of the episode.
Happy days. Well, what a week it's been, lads. I know we've carried the fort for the last couple of episodes. Kemp's been busy, and Mudge, as we know, is away on holiday. Shout out and a congratulations to Mudge and Catherine. He did say that I could mention this tonight. They have got engaged while in the Philippines, so a massive congratulations from us, and we can't wait to hear the stories once you're back.
Congrats!
But Adam,
congratulations.
Is it that, or is it Gratz? We're going with Gratz. No, ate it, mate. Ate it.
At Ben Musgrove.
Oh, mate, I don't get it. What's the point? But anyway,
that guy.
Sam, you've had a couple of questions already, mate. So Adam, I'm going to come back to you, mate.
I'll get my feet up then.
Yeah,
you get your feet up. As there's nobody else here for me to go to. So Adam, this question is for you this week. So you are naked on a bed. You are 1 inch deep inside Sam's anus.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
and you have me 1 inch deep inside your anus. Do you move forward or back?
Forward. And then back.
Good night, everybody.
And then forward.